Welcome back. So far we have been dealing with single files, but this is not always the case in big data projects, especially when you're dealing with transactional data, which is high volume. The data generally will be partitioned into time-based partitions. For example, yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, even hourly has become more common nowadays. As you know, the trip data has been made available on monthly files, so each file for a month contains all the data from the trips made in that month. So based on this, I have also partitioned the data by year and then by month in the files that I provided to you. Let me show you how that data looks and then we look at exploring them. The folder we want to explore is the trip data green CSV, which contains all the trip data in CSV file format for the green taxis. So let's open up the folder. As you can see, it contains two folders, one for year 2020 and another one for the year 2021. And the name of the folder is our year equals and then the year. So let me open up the year 2020 and here you will see a month folder. So I've got 12 folders there for each of the months. So that starts from month 01 to 12. And if you open up the folder, you will see the file that relates to that month. Again, we've got some naming conventions here. So we got the green trip data and then 2020-01. So that is the 2020 January data. In this example, we only have one file, but when you are working on production level projects, you are likely to see more than one file as well. Are already familiar with selecting data from single CSV files. So let's start with selecting data from this single CSV file and then we will change to use folders and subfolders because you've done this already once. You may want to do it yourself, but feel free to follow along with me if that makes it easier for you. So let's right-click on the file and then click on New SQL Script and select Top 100 Rows. And I'm going to rename this file to 7_explore trip data, green CSV, and also let me bring that into my discovery folder here. Let's execute this as it is. So I'm going to just run this. And there are some potential conversion errors. That's okay, but the results are like this. So the file has a header we have unspecified ahead. That's why the header is the first record and then it's got the data selected as we would expect to see. It's got about 20 columns. It's slightly wider than the other files we've seen. But everything else looks okay. But so far we have been using data source rather than providing the HTTP URL. So let me make those changes very quickly. Also, I'm going to specify the header row equal to true. So let me run this through now. And as you can see, the data has been selected, as we would expect, and everything looks okay. And we've just selected the top 100 records. In this case, we've explicitly specified the name of the CSV file and we got the data from the file. But let's say instead we want to select data from a folder. So that means all the files in a particular folder. So let's try and select the data from the month 01 folder. So in order to do that, you simply have to remove the file name from this and that should select the data from the files in the folder. As I said, actually we only have one file in that folder, but if you had multiple files, the data from all the files would be selected. There are things you can do, things like wildcard characters. So for example, you could specify a star. Let me run that rule and that will pick data from all the files, or in case you've got multiple types of files and you want to select data from all the CSV files only. You could specify star.csv and that would select data from the CSV files only. So that's brilliant. Let's now say actually we want to select data from all the files in the year 2020. So that would be the files in month 01, 02, 03 up to month 12. But there are no direct files under the year 2020. At CSV files, they are subfolders. So we're going to see how to select data from the subfolders. You might think you just have to remove the month 01/start at CSV and it would get the data. Let's run that through and see what happens. And it says actually there are no datasets found. That's because under year 2020, there are no files. If there were files, then it would pick the data from those. But there are no files that are only folders. So how do we get into the folders? And you might again think actually you can specify something like star, and that won't give you anything either, because anything you do with the start of that CSV is going to look for files underneath the folder year 2020. In order to go into subfolders and look in there for files, you'll have to specify double star. So that's the one thing you need to remember. So if you are going to get data from subfolders recursively, then you will have to specify a double star. And then if you run it through, it's going to get data from all of those files. Let's now say actually we want to get data from a couple of months, not every month in this case. Actually, year to 2020 would give us all of the data for the year 2020. But we want one leaf from January and March, and let's see how that can be done. So you can send a list of files to the bulk operator. So you open a bracket here, and then let's copy this. And you can provide another file name here. And let's say that it's month 02, and then you close the brackets on a comma, and that should get us data from month 01 and 02. Let's run that through and see what's come out. And we got all of that data here as well. So that's how you get data from more than one file. In this case, we've got data from January and February. I think I said actually we'll get data from January and March, but I've specified February. Let me change that to March. But you can add as many files as you want in this list, and it will get data from those files. In these examples, we've specified one wildcard character in these file names, but you can specify as many as you like. So let's see how that can be done. Let's say you want to get data from all the years and all the months, and we only want the CSV files. The way you do that is actually we can remove that bracket because we just specify a wildcard character for the whole lot. And what you need to do is actually, instead of 2020, you put a star here, and instead of for the month equals, you can put a star. So what it's going to do is it's going to look for a folder with the name year equals, and then it doesn't care what's the after that. They can be any of the year, and underneath that it's going to look for month equals, and then whatever month we got. And within the month folder it'll look for files with start date CSV. So any CSV files. So let me run that through the and we've got the results here. But one thing you might be wondering, which data belongs to which files. There isn't any indication of which file the data has come from, because we are putting into a folder and it's getting data from all of those folders and all of those files. So there are some metadata functions that you can use to get the file names. I'll show you that in the next session.